Good day. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Thursday, January the 26th. We've got CEO John Lamb of Myriad Uranium joining us today. Myriad has an option to earn 100% interest in over 1,800 square kilometers of uranium exploration licenses in the Timurosoy Basin in Nigeria. And we're looking forward to getting an update on this. But please remember, this is neither a recommendation nor an investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Tom, thank you very much for joining us today. Please tell us about Myriad.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, Martin. Hi, everyone. Myriad Uranium Corp is a new uranium junior explorer. It's new in that we did our deal to acquire 1,800 square kilometers of exploration licenses in the Timurosoy Basin, Niger. We did that deal in August. So we are just in the process of revealing ourselves to the world. We are CSE listed. Our symbol is M, as you see all over the place on the slides. Soon we will have our Frankfurt and OTC tickers. So all of you around the world that are having a little more trouble trading on the CSE will be able to trade on those other exchanges soon. So fundamentally, the goal of Myriad Uranium is to find more DASA-like deposits in the Timurosoy Basin, Niger. DASA is Global Atomic's flagship project. It is Africa's highest grade development stage project. It's located in the Timurosoy Basin. I'm going to actually, this is not in the deck because this is such fresh news. Yesterday, Red Cloud, supported by Corp and Global Atomic, announced the closing of a $115 million private placement, equity raise into Global Atomic. The pricing is very good. It's an enormous raise for a uranium development stage company in Niger. Niger is not that well known. It's not very well understood globally, particularly, but now it's on the cusp of turning into one of the most exciting jurisdictions in the world, especially for uranium exploration. So please go, a lot of your viewers will have seen that news
Tom,
regarding that raise. Yes.
So just in case, I'm not sure how up to speed everyone is on uranium and uranium in Niger. Who's Global Atomic? Just a quick 1,000-foot view. Who are they?
Very good. Global Atomic was a uranium explorer. They went into Niger on a small scale basis, poking around, looking for uranium. They went in around 2007, started looking around over these licenses that Orano, which used to be Areva, which used to be Kojima locally, that Orano had. Orano had all of the Timurosoy Basin in Niger, and it's effectively the French government. Global Atomic, small Canadian company, went in there looking for uranium, started having some success, ultimately discovered what is now Africa's highest grade uranium deposit. And so it was that already before. And just recently in the last few months, they've announced exploration grades that are really exciting. For people who know uranium, they'll know that the highest grades in the world are in the Athabasca Basin in Canada. Grades in the teens and higher, 20% plus. Well, it was thought that the chances of that being found in Africa, well, we didn't really know. Well, Global Atomic, Canadian public company, has found them. They intersected a couple months ago, 0.7 meters, 13%, over 13% uranium, 46 meters plus of over 3% uranium. These grades are amazing. If you go a little bit to the north, west in the Timurosoy Basin, Niger, you have Africa's largest uranium deposit. Just, the mine of the future, incredibly exciting. 380 million pounds of uranium. That is called Immeraren. It is owned by Orano, again, French government, effectively. The grades on that are really low compared to the grades at Global Atomic's DASA project. And so while everybody's been excited about Imararan and similar near surface low grade uranium deposits, which are economic and especially with in situ recovery, effectively in situ recovery makes it cheap to extract uranium. Now everything is completely blown out of the water by Global Atomic finding these extremely high grades. So that is basically Global Atomic in a nutshell. We're all very excited. We acquired these licenses.
They're your neighbors.
Yeah.
You were just talking about guys in your neighborhood, right?
Okay, so that's the thing. So we have 1,800 square kilometers in the basin of Niger, 4 licenses. Our northern license, called Ajibout, is right up against Imararan. We couldn't be any closer. We share a property boundary with Africa's largest uranium deposit. Again, 380 million pounds. I'll just emphasize that for people who know these sizes. A little further south of Imararan is our Afude project that lies just south of Imararan on the same fault, which goes north into our other license. There's a fault that crosses, the other important fault in the basin crosses within our Afude license, and 30 kilometers up that fault, same structure, is Global Atomic's DASA project. So we are right up against Africa's largest uranium deposit, and we are just down the street on the same structure, the same Azusa fault, it's called, as Global Atomic's DASA. So that's why we're talking about it. That's why this is all very exciting and relevant. So we jumped right ahead, and now Global Atomic, Red Cloud, and a little bit of help from Corp have just raised a huge amount of money to support the development and the construction of the mine that is being built there at the DASA project. This is incredible for Myriad, and we're very excited about it. It's great to talk about it right out of the gate. It's very important news. It's not in our deck because we finalized this a couple days ago. So that's the introduction to what's going on.
It highlights 2 things. A, this is people are putting money because there's good projects there. B, Niger is an investable country. A lot of $150 million tends to be a bunch of smart money, and they're saying, hey, we appreciate the risk and we find it tolerable and acceptable. So let's go ahead and cut some big checks.
You got it. If you dig into who invested, I mean, this is not. I don't know that this has all been released yet, but these are really big, smart funds that have invested. They've done their investigating, their due diligence. Confidence in the project is high. The government, we will talk about the government in due course. Confidence in the government, the country itself, the basin, the infrastructure they have there. This is effectively a story, going back about the groundwork that Arano and its predecessors had laid over decades in Niger. This is the French government. Of course, this is a complicated issue because the French, being in West Africa for many years, has this complexity there. But one of the gifts that Arano has bestowed, if you could call it that, on Niger is it's laid this amazing foundation infrastructure, trained lots of people, and done some exploration, which is kind of providing a roadmap for all of us. Yeah, and so it's already a great uranium jurisdiction. They know uranium. So this is also encouraging and important and relevant to the big funds that have invested now. They see this now. So whereas Niger, and skipping ahead a little, Niger is now 6th or 7th in the world in uranium production. Once this mine, Global Atomic's DASA, comes online, Imararan, which I just mentioned, Africa's largest, some other projects come online, Niger could soon be the world's 2nd largest producer of uranium. That just is, for people who aren't familiar, if you are familiar, either way, it's mind-blowing. It's really exciting for Niger. So big things are happening there. It's going to be, one of the destinations for mining investment in the future. I'm convinced of that. This is just the beginning.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit more about our company on this highlight slide, the first highlight slide. I've mentioned DASA.
Okay, here, so we're on the first highlight slide here.
Yeah, good. A little bit to the bottom. I'll just talk about our structure. We've got 26.5 million shares outstanding. This is pro forma. It's giving effect to a private placement we're doing just right now. We're raising just over $500,000 in a small in-between raise. So this is this will be the number of shares out soon once that is complete. Most of the company is owned by management and our local partners in Niger, West African mining specialists, local people with strong private and public and government ties in Niger. They own about a third of our company. So that's relevant. Most of the shares are in a kind of a 3-year escrow trickle out. So they're not just sort of all out there. That's actually relevant in terms of, it's good for the company and the share structure. I'll mention this important point or get back to it, which is that Orano and its predecessors did a lot of exploration at a regional scale. These are drill holes 800 meters apart, 1,000 meters apart, or 1,200 meters apart, et cetera. They were just trying to, get a sense of the basin. They also flew really good airborne geophysics quite a while ago, but it's really good data. And they did mapping and other typical things that you do when you're doing regional scale exploration. Point number one, we have that data. We're not a greenfield company. We are a company that has acquired prime licenses with millions of dollars of exploration spend layered on top. We've done a preliminary review of the data, and we have, we're very excited about it. I also want to mention that Orano formulated plans to do intensive exploration of some of the areas within our licenses. And we have those plans. Just Orano, we can get into why Orano effectively exited exploration in Niger in the wake of Fukushima, but we can talk about that later. So we've, this is a very fortunate situation. We have amazing licenses, we have the data, and we have Orano's plans. I'll just mention that our licenses contain uranium. About 20% of the historic boreholes encountered at least 100 ppm mineralization. We have work to do before we can get into details about and announce more information that's more detailed because of securities laws, et cetera, regulations. So here's the insight. Orano went around and was historically looking for more Imerarans, again, Africa's largest uranium deposit. That's what you do. You've just found Africa's largest deposit. It's going to be economic, depending on the price of uranium. And in any case, you want a secure supply for the French nuclear fleet. But it's all fairly low grade at the top strata in the basin. Now what Global Atomic has done is revealed that very high grade uranium may lie deeper and may lie on secondary faults in the basin. In a way, this changes everything. We now can use the Orano data as a guide to get us in the right place, add data to that, high resolution, for example, additional high resolution geophysics, locate faulting, and go deeper the way Global Atomic has done. And the hope is make discoveries that are as exciting as DASA's, and maybe even multiple discoveries. And the last point in the highlights is that we have a strong technical team that is going to enable us to, we hope, make these discoveries if the uranium is there. So that's the introduction. And I find it very exciting and interesting, and I hope you do too. Yeah. So I'll just mention that there's already a fair amount of uranium production in Niger. If you go down to the Timor Basin slide, you can see a map of much of Niger that shows you the basin. And you can see our projects indicated there. It just gives you an idea of what's going on. I have some notes there about Niger having the potential to be the second largest uranium producer globally. And my last point there is that people are coming into Niger now. It's not only are we there, Myriad, but Global Atomic, which you mentioned, GoVX, which has the Madawela project. I'll note that on a map later. ENRG from Australia, and others are, we're coming. Niger is open for business, and the government and the people who work there and in the country, all very motivated, really excited to create an attractive place for foreign investment. So this is a great slide because it shows all 4 of our licenses indicated on the right-hand side. The one at the top is Ajibout. And you can see Imararan, Orano's Imararan deposit is just south of that license at the top. We can't get any closer to it. The property boundary we're right up against it. If you go further north from our license, you see that main fault that runs north-south, the Arlet Fault, which is thought to control mineralization throughout the basin, certainly that's been the thinking for decades, continues up to Orano's Somer and Cominac projects. Those are important uranium producers and ever have been. And there's also a very high capacity mill facility there, which can take feed from all the projects in the basin. This is relevant to all of us as we do business there. North of Ajibout on the right is GoVX's Madawela project. So this will just give everybody a view of our licenses. The key faults in the basin cross our licenses and they intersect within our licenses. Very important point. Okay, so this is our northernmost license, Ajibout. This doesn't have detail within the license area, just so you can see what's going on. Important projects, world-class projects, north and south of our license on the same faults, which intersect inside our Ajibout license. This shows historic work that Orano or its predecessors did. And that's represented by some of the radiometrics, that's the yellow and red blotches within the license. And also those dots, the big dots are drill holes, vertical. The red ones intersected interesting uranium mineralization. And to the left of those, you see where the major faults intersect. That area north of Imararan is a prime location for intensive exploration. And in fact, Orano determined that it was an important area for further exploration. And if you look closely, you can see lots of dots there. That is Orano's drill plan, which they never executed. And we have that plan and others. So this is an example of what we've got at our licenses. We definitely have uranium. I can't say that it's a lot or a little yet, because we don't know, and there's a lot more work that has to be done. But historic holes have intersected uranium. Orano itself determined these areas are very interesting. We are going to investigate. So that is our Ajibout license. We actually, for various reasons that are a little more technical, to the right and the south, you can see 2 other circles. So we have A, B, C. Those are also very interesting for intensive follow-up. So part of our exploration plan, which we are formulating. So this is a clean slide of our AFODE license. The 2 key faults in the basin, or 2 of the, certainly the Arlet fault that runs north-south is thought to control mineralization throughout the basin. The Azusa fault I mentioned earlier that runs east-west continues to the right to Global Atomic's DASA project, and down to the left to the Azalik project. That is a Chinese owned and run uranium mine operating right now. Good. So this is AFODE. You can see that some drilling was done by Orano, and the red is where they found interesting uranium mineralization in excess of 100 ppm. I should make a very important point here, which is Orano did not drill deep. All of their holes, virtually all of their holes, were only a couple hundred meters down. Global Atomic's DASA project up and to the right, 30 kilometers to the east, they drilled deeper, 500 meters, 550 meters. And so I'll just repeat, the very high grade mineralization may lie at these deeper strata, and we're going to find out. We hope it does, and we hope that we can make DASA-like discoveries. So these are our last two licenses, called Tajay 2 and Tajay 3. This is just meant to show that key faults run through the licenses. The vertical fault on the right, Adrar Emolis, continues up to the DASA project. Where it intersects with that other Azusa fault, in fact, at that intersection is the DASA project. So the intersection is very interesting. I can't speak to how relevant that is, but within our Affidavit project, two of the key licenses in the basin also intersect. We historically, uranium has been encountered within our license. The drilling has been shallow. If we drill deeper, will we find high-grade uranium mineralization? We don't know, but it's this is the thesis within all four of our licenses. So it's an exciting thesis. The least amount of work historically by Orano was done on out of our licenses. These Tajay licenses have seen the least amount of historical work, but still some. The drilling that you see that show red dots has encountered uranium, and they do seem to sync up with the faulting. There's also a lot of small structure within these licenses. If people in the future we'll have lots of technical information in the future. That also may be extremely relevant, and it's not just about the big faults here. 11 out of the 28 boreholes that were drilled in the Tajays encountered over 100 ppm uranium. So there you go. These are our four licenses. Thanks, Martin. So here's a bit of our go forward plan. It is, we are in the process of confirming it. There's a lot of detail that we're working out right now. Whether and what kind of high resolution geophysics we do, where we do it. We're going to go back and survey old boreholes, historic boreholes, put our own instruments down. This will allow us to confirm what the grades are down these holes. We just have the old data that is in an AVP Orano / Ariba format currently, so we can't be exactly sure, although we have confidence. The idea, of course, is to get to drilling and to get to discovery drilling. So there'll be some test drilling, and then hopefully discovery drilling. You know, if things fortune smiles on us, and then target and resource delineation finally. So let's hope. That's our plan.
So on the in the Q1 and Q2, you're going to have the examine it further. What kind of news flow is this going to generate? Like after you do the analysis, you're going to put out a news release and say, hey, this is what we're in our reinterpretation of the historic data. What kind of things should investors be looking out for?
Yeah, well, I think until we drill, it's going to be, we're still, in fact, we're acquiring data, historic data on an ongoing basis and analyzing it and interpreting it. So we've done preliminary interpretation. There'll be more, there'll be a continuing flow of new insights that we have. So there's that. If we do, which seems fairly likely, some high resolution geophysics, we will have information around that. There will be reconfirming by putting our own instruments down old boreholes. We may have exciting information relating to that, or at least very relevant to our hunt. We are going to be able to, we hope, really nail down the subsurface structure, the faulting. This is how you, if you're drilling deep, we have to drill in the right place in order to find the trapped uranium. So within the next few months, I guess it will depend on whether we decide to do a little bit of drilling too, in connection with everything. In order to do that, we're going to be raising more money. So the current raise of 500, we'll go over what we announced, is an in-between raise. It gives us sort of the foundation. We're not going to run out of money. But in order to drill, we're going to be doing a significant fundraise in the future, sooner or later, and to fund this. So I can't really be specific, I suppose, yet, but we will be talking about our plans very soon. You've caught us kind of mid-formulating the plans. But over the next 6 months, I'm optimistic there'll be some exciting things that'll be coming through.
All right,
we have a lot planned.
So investors will be getting updates as the things progress and as decisions are made. Absolutely.
I think everybody will find us very communicative. That is, and that is our disposition to begin with. But things are hotting up in the Timbersoy. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Our activities, what's going on with the in the basin, what the government's doing, what we're doing in terms of financing, our exploration plans. We're going to be doing a lot of investor awareness work, just like this, attending conferences, getting the word out. Again, we're going to have the Frankfurt ticker, OTC ticker soon. This is sort of, we're building the foundation, and it's going to be an exciting run over the next 6 months, 12 months. We're going to be telling everybody all about it as we go.
All right. And what is it like dealing with the government of Niger? Are they responsive and reactive? Are they being like pro mining and all of that, trying to figure out how to help you succeed?
Yeah. So I've worked in Africa for a long time, about 11 years, and in lots of other jurisdictions. Niger is extremely pro mining. They have this long history with Orano. It has trained government, private sector to think about mining, to understand, everybody understands mining and the value. There's a complicated relationship in West Africa with France, of course, but the context there is mining is very important. That's point number one. The government right now is excited to diversify away from Orano, which has dominated for decades there, and they're doing everything they can to attract foreign investment. I met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Mines there a few months ago in Niamey, the capital. The Minister of Mines in particular, she was really interested to hear about how they can attract more and more juniors. What can we do in terms of law, policy, investment climate, et cetera? We had a good conversation about that. This is the new generation that's come up. You may know that years ago there was a democratic regime change. New government came in for Africa and West Africa. That's really very significant. You have this new group that wants to make Niger a very friendly place to invest, and they're doing that. I have a very good feeling there. I want to mention, this is a conversation I had a few days ago, an important conversation about mine permitting. The average, if you discover something in British Columbia, Canada, or maybe some other places in North America, you're waiting 12, 13, 14 years before you can, build your mine, depending, give or take, and sometimes much longer. In Niger, it's about a year. The government, you submit your mine application, which includes environmental and other things. The government has a year to approve. If you look at the timelines of GoviEx and Global Atomic, which is just a few months ago, started work on their mine, these things all happen very quickly. Now, we're all from Canada or Australia or whatever, Western. We're not going to cut corners on anything in terms of social community, social responsibility, environmental. So everybody's very serious about that, and the government is serious about it. But everything is expedited. They want things to happen. They want jobs for their people, and so it's an exciting jurisdiction. You're going to see, and in fact, that's why Global Atomic is advancing so quickly. It's been able to raise all this money. Sophisticated people have taken a hard look at Niger and decided that this is, it's a country that's on the move. It's opening up, and it's going to be, it's a good jurisdiction. So that's how I feel. And I hope that's helpful.
And
Yeah.
Orano is not has a history. They're a French a company, correct? And with the French in Niger, it's call it politely, a complicated past. So having new partners is part of their sort of outlook and way to do things, right?
Yeah. So I don't have, I'm fairly new myself to the context there, to Niger. So I don't have the depth and decades of understanding, but I think I understand a lot. This is good for Orano too. Takes the pressure off them a bit. They get to keep Imararan, their mine of the future. They have 50 plus years of reserves. This is probably a lot more. They've got operations, producing mine. They have a mill, and now what do they get to do? They get us. And no offense to Orano, but this goes for all majors. Not the best at exploration, right? At early stage exploration, they're not very efficient. They've got big bureaucracy, how they make their decisions. In fact, that's how all of us got our licenses there, and are making discoveries. So this is great for Orano, in my view. They get to get Global Atomic, GoviEx, Myriad, others, make significant discoveries, build up their companies, maybe even build mines themselves, and then feed the Orano mill with material. That way, Orano gets a secure supply, and the French government can have a secure supply. Also, Orano gets to step in and get involved, if the deal is right, get involved in GoviEx, Global Atomic, potentially Myriad, if it makes sense in the future. It's a two-way, it's good for both sides. Potential liquidity, if Orano wants to acquire, partnerships, investment. It's really good both ways. That's a comment about Orano. And it solves some problems for them with regard to the government and everything. It's almost like a monoculture in agriculture, right? You've had the government and Orano for so long. This is healthy for everybody. That's my perspective on it.
And while we're still ways away from building a mine or so forth, but they've got a big mill, and so if gets to
Exactly.
CapEx time, you're able to leverage some of their infrastructure, and that can be beneficial to you, hopefully in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, the place has roads, electricity, a huge experienced workforce. It's got a mill. It's got cities and towns that are built, population that is already comfortable with mining. This is all thanks to Orano, and we get to leverage all of that. As we build, this is what Global Atomic has been doing. They've been leveraging all of the Orano legacy, and they have all of Orano's personnel that are, if there's Orano is shutting down some of their operations, they're changing their structure. You have 1,000 very highly skilled, experienced, high quality workers available. They can move and go over and work for Global Atomic. Yeah. Everybody knows each other anyway in this. It's a big country, but the people involved in the sector, like a lot of specialized sectors, everybody knows each other. Everybody's trying to help each other. So it's a gift to all of us that Orano has been there for so long and built up all this infrastructure, personnel, electricity, mill, roads. We have a really, really good technical committee and board. I'll just mention George Vanderwalt and David Miller, the center and the right. George Vanderwalt is our lead geologist, excellent uranium exploration geologist. He ran Peninsula's Karoo project, which is an enormous project, over 12,000 boreholes. We're very lucky to have him. He's leading he's our lead geologist, leads our technical committee. David Miller there, also on our technical committee. He is from Wyoming. He worked at Utah International, which became Areva, which became Orano, and he's one of the world's leading authorities on in situ recovery. This is very inexpensive way to recover uranium if everything is right in the ground. Kazakhstan produces much of its uranium that way. this is really relevant to us in the timber soy. And David Miller's he's just a true global uranium expert. He's on our technical committee. Loxcroft on the far right, that is our local partner. Largest shareholder. Loxcroft has appointed these two board members who are world-class. Guy Cava is an international mining lawyer. He was a partner at McCarthy Tetro in Toronto for many years. Very well-known expert in the field. He is on our board. He's now based out of West Africa at a leading law firm there. Cyril Amadi in the center is a banker, West African, Europe-based, has worked with leading companies, leading banks, Endeavor Financial, etc. These two together are superstar board members. And so I wanted to mention that. You can go to the next slide. Finally, Guy Pinsent and Fred Bonner. Guy Pinsent is a European businessman, financier, CEO of a very large business in Central Europe. Super smart guy. If a little later we talk about how we end up with the projects, Guy Pinsent went to Cambridge University with my good friend and the previous CEO of Myriad Uranium, Pete Smith, and that is through that path we ended up connecting and getting these projects in Niger. Fred Bonner, a senior Canadian geologist. Lucky to have him. And then Nelson Lamb, no relation to me, is our CFO. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Is that there are some more slides here? Do you want to go through some of that? We did discuss the
Sure.
Oh, here are the option terms. This is an excellent thing we should bring up, fairly key to the matter.
Yeah, the main part of the consideration was the shares already issued to Loxcroft, which turned them into a 1/3 owner of the company, effectively, before this financing that's just happening right now. So we issued them 8.5 million shares. And those trickle out over time. So we're very aligned. They basically want us to make one or more significant discoveries, and we're in this together, and they're going to help us do that. We do have a spending commitment. It's part of the 80%, and that's to spend $2 million over 2 years. That's going to happen very quickly. So to get to 100%, we have to add $6 million within 6 years. So by then hopefully we'll have made discoveries, and this will just be I wouldn't say a rounding error, but it's we'll know whether we're going to do this or not, and it won't be a problem. There are some bonuses built in. You can see there. Everybody wins if we achieve those milestones. There's a 1% NSR.
All right. That seems
those are the
reasonable.
Terms. Yeah, we're very good. So local exploration team, we don't have to get into the detail here too much, but Loxcroft has been in Niger many years, strongly connected to Orano, former Orano people, governments, private sector providers, drillers, everything that we need to execute our plan. And we also can avail ourselves of anybody else we want, foreign or domestic, as is needed. But Loxcroft is there to help us, and it, of course, has a big equity position in our company. So that is our local team. There's the next slide, uranium for a greener planet. I think everybody understands that uranium is the answer now. It appears to, no matter how you feel, whether your focus is energy security, energy in Europe, climate change, all three. And I have a fourth thing, which to me is I would like to get fossil fuel dominance away from autocrats in these countries that are, all the money is going to political regimes that maybe aren't as good for humanity's future either. Uranium, in a lot of ways, can solve some of those issues too. So, but we don't have to go. Everybody can.
Well, my 2 bits on this is that you know what, we need a diversified energy portfolio, and uranium should be a significant part of that. We're going to keep wind, we're going to keep solar, we're probably going to keep some natural gas for certain circumstances, and you just need a good mix to make sure the whole system works. And uranium is awesome for baseload. So
awesome for baseload.
Yeah,
you got it. Okay, good stuff. Okay, supply and demand. Demand is going up. Supply, we need more. I don't know that we need to get, we can get into stats and all these things, but I think you and your viewers are probably familiar with
if you're watching this, you probably have a pretty optimistic or understand the supply and demand issues in the uranium and nuclear space. And here are the comps.
Yeah. Very good. That's it. So there aren't that many comps to talk about yet. I think I look forward to our next conversation, because I think people will start piling into Niger. And we'll watch this list grow. You can see Orano, French government, Global Atomic, and I'm not even sure how, things are changing day by day with these market caps for these companies. So yeah, but you can see the main foreign investors here.
Yeah, and the orders of magnitude difference in the development and market caps of these companies here.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. You can see our share structure. The way we've done it, maybe we've included numbers from our current financing that's occurring right now. We didn't know if it was going to close now the day of our conversation or after, so we included this in. But currently, just so people know, approximately 26.5 million shares. It's a very tight share structure, and we've got options and warrants that are outstanding, as you see there.
All right.
So there you go.
And here we go. We've gone through this.
Yeah,
so.
We sure have.
All right.
I don't know if you need me to review everything. I think we can probably.
No, I think we've got the key points here. Niger is has a fantastic geology for uranium, and there's lots hosted there. And you've got have some properties that are seem to be in some have excellent neighbors, shall we say. You're in good neighborhoods here.
That's it.
We do have a question here from the audience. What does the infrastructure surrounding your license areas look like? Will it need to be built up?
So if you go back to the very first slide, so this is what our licenses look like. In fact, this is what the Tin-Mersoy Basin looks like, largely. And there are towns and villages here and there, some big cities, and there are roads in between. Because it is really it's the most important area economically for Niger. There is a fair amount of infrastructure, power plants, power lines, etc. But if you are going to build something, you are starting from, and you're in a remote area. This is what it looks like. This is to answer that question. But lots of roads and lots of experienced people who, dive right in, build roads, build buildings, can blast holes. It all you can you can look over what Global Atomic is doing right now to their website. Whoever the viewer is and whoever else is interested, and you can just flip through their photos. You can get from this to what they're doing, very quickly in Niger. Yeah,
and is there like a rainy season there? Does it look dry and barren like this all year long, or during the rainy seasons is it green, like and muddy and like sort of access issues?
Yeah, there is. I haven't experienced it yet myself. I think it's a month or two. There's a significant rainy season, and there's also a hot season where it's really hot. I don't know how long that lasts. Maybe a month or something like that too. So those are seasons. Maybe it's a bit longer, but those are seasons when you have to decide. Figure out what you're going to be doing. Yeah. Maybe you take a break.
You got to take some care.
And there are rivers. It does look like desert, but there are rivers, there are waterways, and those expand a lot when there's rain, obviously. But it's just on the edge of the Sahara Desert. So this is, that's what it looks like.
All right. Okay, Tom, we have another question here. Has there been any M&A consolidation among Niger's uranium producers yet? or is it still too early in the uranium sector in general for this area?
So I think it's a bit early in Niger in the sector. Too few players, but there are always rumblings, and so who knows what the future will hold here, even near term. So maybe not M&A, but you had the Chinese come in with the Azalik project, and others are around. So there's if your viewer is interested in liquidity potential, where you get to kind of their exits and things, some of that is happening. But in terms of the main players, GoBX, Global Atomic, Orano, I like to think us now, even though we're small and just getting going. So not yet. But I think you could say that, for example, Orano is starting to get closer with Global Atomic, in terms of personnel and other things. So that we'll see what happens there. But there's going to be lots of interest from lots of different companies. Yeah.
Are you aware of other juniors staking land claims in the area, or that people have started to come in to see what unclaimed opportunities are out there?
I don't have, I don't know for sure. Okay. But yes, I hear about things. People are quite secretive. Even when I was in Niger there recently, there were people around poking around, doing things, trying to access the cadastre. That's the government's mapping system for claims, interacting with, I was in the ministry office. There are people around you, everybody's looking at each other going, what are you doing here? And that kind of thing. And I've been around, I've been to these ministries in other African countries before. Spent hours and months of my life. And so I do have a sense of these things, what's going on. There's energy, and people are poking around. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some new entrants in the near future. Yeah.
All right. And on the price of uranium in general, we've bounced off the bottom here. They were pretty bleak there for a few years. But in any way, does the price, the spot price of uranium, does that impact you? Or do you have any sense of how that'll affect?
Well, because of our stage and the fact that we need money to drill, whatever is impacting the ability for us to raise money to explore for uranium is relevant to us. So price of uranium drops, I think it's harder to finance juniors. I think if drops significantly, it gets a little bit harder to finance juniors. Price of uranium goes up, all of a sudden the phones ring, everybody wants to invest. And so I think in that way. So that's at one level, I think, but fundamentally, I think there's a lot of people understand that you can't ignore the short-term fluctuations in the uranium price, because this is the future. You are going to need $60, $70, $80 uranium sooner or later, just because if you look at the curves and where everything's coming from, if you can do kind of a probability on what's going to happen with uranium coming out of St. Petersburg, refined, etc., enriched through the Russian system, Kazakhstan bypassing. If your viewers are sophisticated, most of them, I'm sure you look at all that. I think a lot of people understand that the price is going to have to go up, and so people will still invest and fund, even if there are short-term fluctuations. So those are sort of two things to consider. On the one hand, the small companies are impacted by short-term fluctuations in the uranium price. On the other, sophisticated people and people who really have investigated, they're still going to invest and support our exploration, because they know our time will come, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer.
All right.
That's my view. Yeah.
All right. How much do you think Myriad needs to raise to drill?
Good question. At the moment, it could be approximately $6 million Canadian for some of the things we have in mind, and whether we break that up. And this doesn't include other work we want to do that will lay the foundation for the drilling and help us pinpoint drill holes, etc. So, short answer, maybe we need a couple $1 million for some other work, plus, $5 or $6 million for initial drilling. I want to be absolutely clear, so that everybody else is clear, that we are still formulating these plans. It may be that this gets broken up in different ways. It may be that we want more or less, but that's a number that people can have in their, keep in the back of their minds.
All right. We've discussed this a bit previously, but are there many other areas or claims available in the basin or in this region, or is it all fairly locked up?
Good question. So I was looking at the cadastral map of the basin. There are a few areas that are open, but not many. And so in order to acquire licenses, it might be a little more complicated than just going and staking. But there are some openings, and then there are owners of licenses too that can be approached, I'm sure. Yeah.
Is that part of your strategy to do some of that, or do you feel like you've got enough high quality land that you don't really need to be picking up any other property and just sort of stay focused on the prospective properties you've got right now?
So on the one hand, we can stay focused. We've got great properties. We have a lot to do. You saw from the maps, and that Orano has plans, and we are going to leverage those. We're in position A. We have multiple position A locations, so there's that. However, we have the right partners locally, and we're all tied together and aligned. We want to build this into everybody wants to build their company to a multi-$100-million company, but we're serious here. We're going to do whatever we need to do to build this company into a create value for shareholders. So we're always on the lookout. We have ideas. Let's see. Yep.
All right. And I think we'll make that. We're running kind of long here. What the permitting process for exploration and for exploration drilling, is that been sort of locked down? I guess you need to figure out your drill plan first, but is that a cumbersome or expensive issue, the permitting process?
This is a really great question. The thing is, it's not like Canada or wherever where you get your exploration license, but that's just the beginning of your long travails. You get your exploration license in Niger, you're permitted. That gives you everything you need. You can drill, you can do whatever you need to do. You get granted your license. It's go time.
Okay, so you're
there are
set
some.
to go.
Yeah.
You just need to get some drills and start punching holes.
Yeah, we want to figure out exactly where to point them. But yes. You're right. So it's very cool. And I'll just circle back. I mean, for an explorer, and for those of us who've been around in different jurisdictions, interacting with governments, bureaucracies, you get your exploration license, you're all excited, and then it's hurry up and slow down. You suddenly have to wait a year or something to get permitted. It's not like this here. This is just like breathing oxygen. You land, you get your licenses, you have all the infrastructure, the drillers, the service providers, geophysicists, everybody's there available. You can get right to work. It's like, again, it's really refreshing. It's fantastic. I want to mention too that so you make a discovery. I'm reiterating. I think I mentioned this earlier. You make a discovery, and they're gonna approve your mine, subject to it being reasonable and the environmental and everything is ticked off in a very short period of time. So as an explorer, you know that you can immediately start working, and if you discover something, you can immediately get going on building something that's going to create massive value for the country, for you, for the shareholders. It's a really good context. Another reason why I think Niger is is going to attract a lot of interest over the next few years. Exciting place. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tom, on that, why don't we wrap things up here? Thank you very much for taking the time, walking through the story, and yeah, looking forward to getting an update from you as things emerge and you get some data and figure out your plans in the coming months.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to it. I look forward to next time.
All right. Thanks a lot. Cheers.